I'm going to chemist. You know she got plenty food for me to eat.
Mommy, will you make it today?
It's time to make an Oreo pound cake. Now, I'm almost certain that some of you do not know how to get the flour into a cup. So, I'm showing you. If you can, don't just scoop, level it with a spoon. When the flour is in a container or a bag, it's real compact and there's no air in it. So, when you scoop it, you're getting way too much. But with the spoon method, you're getting more air into the flour, if that makes any sense. I'm sure I'm saying this wrong, but you don't have as much flour and you can still fill up 1 cup. After you get it all on there, you level it off and then you slice it with a butter knife or some kind of knife or something flat surface to get it level. Now, if you want a little bit less messy and still kind of getting a perfect cup, you can just put some air into the flour mixture and then scoop it like that, while still making sure to level it off, of course. And the good thing about baking powder is that it comes with a leveler in there. So you just scoop it, scrape it, and dump it. And when it comes to baking things, you want to always mix your dry ingredients first before you add your wet ingredients. Now, in a perfect world, you can sift your flour mixture, but I ain't doing all that. Only if I have a right amount of patience and time would I sift my flour mixture, but this one came out perfectly fine without it. So on to your eggs. 1, you want them at room temperature. All your wet ingredients, you need them to be at room temperature. And it's always best to crack your eggs into a bowl first before adding it to any kind of cake batter. Now, you want to do this because most likely when you're mixing a cake batter, adding the egg in, it's mixing. So if you crack an egg and the eggshell goes into it, there's no way to stop it or see where it went. And y'all like how I'm doing that one-hand cracking motion, right? Yeah, I've been practicing. Now, with your 2 sticks of softened butter, struggle to get in the mixer like I did. And then add your 3 cups of granulated sugar. Yes, I know that seems like a lot, but trust me, it was not sugary or too sweet. Now, you're going to beat that on high for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's light and fluffy, like me. And no, there isn't any measurement when you're using a cup of sugar. You just grab a cup of sugar. Some people use scales. If that makes your baking better to use precise, exact measurements, do that for yourself. I'm still going the old school way, kind of, sort of. Now, I beat this with a paddle attachment at first. It didn't seem to get fluffy to me, so I added the whisk before I added the eggs in. And then the whisk attachment got too fluffy, but I kept it on there until I added the flour in. Now, as best as you can, add 1 egg at a time. Wait until that egg is fully beaten into the batter before you add the other one. We do that because this cake batter can break apart real easily. It can separate from each other, and then you're dealing with a soupy mess, and you're kind of going to get upset. But take your time. There's no rush. I like to use silicone utensils anytime I'm making any kind of cake batter. It's able to scrape the sides down real good without making too much of a mess. After all my eggs was incorporated, I did switch back to the paddle attachment, and my paddle attachment has a silicone scraper on the end of it. Once all the eggs are in, go ahead and add that vanilla extract. And now it's time to start alternating your flour and buttermilk mixture. So I added a cup of flour first, and then about 1/3 cups of buttermilk. And I just kept on alternating one until it was fully incorporated and then doing the other one. I did this until I had no more buttermilk or flour left, but I made sure to end with flour and not with buttermilk. Of course, at this part, if you see flour mixture and buttermilk mixture at the top, get your scraper and start scraping it down. This is one of those trust the process type things. Try your best to make sure your buttermilk is at room temperature. No, don't heat it up, but make it sit at room temperature for a couple hours before you add it into your cake mix. That shock of coldness to what's already warm in your mixing bowl will make the cake start curdling a little bit, or a lot of bit for that matter. And if that happens, just mix on high for a little bit until it gets a little bit smoother, but don't over mix it, if that makes any sense. At this point, you will see your mixture started getting real thick like me. But seeing as this is an Oreo pound cake inside of a Bundt pan, it's gonna be thick. Those 6 eggs is what's making it so thick. Once I had everything in there, I mixed it for about 30 more seconds. Make sure to scrape down all the sides to get all that excess flour and any remaining buttermilk on the edges. And then my mixture didn't look too smooth to me, so I did kind of stir it just a little bit more. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to be lumpy and curdly. Is curdly even a word? Oh well. Like I said, this is a trust the process kind of moment. Now, even a curdle cake can bake well in the oven. I've tried it before because I've had a cake curdle on me before and I still wanted to bake it. Once everything in that oven, it's all going to be the same temperature anyways. And I just did the fun part, adding the crushed Oreos. You want to crush them good, but leave them a little bit chunky like me. And no, you do not have to flour them. They will not sink to the bottom when the cake bakes. Sometimes only fruit does that, but when it comes to Oreos, they're nice, thick, and got a good texture. The Bundt pan that I use, I believe it's a 9-inch Bundt pan. I've got it from a baker's store and I completely forgot what size it was, but it's the only one that I have. I sprayed it down real good with that baking spray. I usually use that cake goop, but I didn't have any made because I haven't done a cake in a long time. But once you spray it down every crevice and corner, go ahead and drop that cake in. Make sure you get it as even as possible. Everything should be in there, and I think it makes just enough to fill the entire thing. But that also depends on your cake pan size. It depends on the size of your pan, but do not overfill it because you do not want it to overflow into the bottom of your oven. That is like the worst smell in the world when you're baking, is to have burnt cake at the bottom of your oven. And shoot, if you're not careful, it could catch on fire. Trust me, I've seen it happen. Go ahead and smack that thing down a few times to make sure the cake is completely in every part of the pan. You don't have to smooth the top out. I was just being really extra at this part. And then, we're going to add some more Oreos on top. I mean, it is an Oreo pound cake. So I love Oreos. And I try to put as many Oreos on this thing as I possibly can. Bake it at 325 for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And you get this. Stick a toothpick in it to test how done it is. After just about 10 or 15 minutes of cooling in the pan, flip it out. Now, this is the scary part because you never know if it's going to come out clean and smooth. But mine did. Yay. And then I let this cool overnight. You can do about 2-3 hours. I was tired. Now, for that white drizzle topping, you can either use white chocolate if you want, or you can melt a can of buttercream. I use the sugar, milk, and vanilla extract mixture. So you want to have way more powdered sugar than anything else. And you're only going to add a little bit of milk at a time until it gets to the consistency that you need. We don't want it too thick, and we do not want it way too runny. We want it thick and smooth, just like this, and just like me. And I somehow didn't record me pouring it on top, but pour it only on the top inner circle, and it will drip down by itself. If you want more drip on a certain side, just do what I'm doing right here. Add a little bit on top and let it flow down by itself naturally. I found this is the only way to get it to drip without looking clear and without being too runny. And at this point, you can decorate it how you want to. You could put some Oreos on top. You could put some fresh fruit. I don't know why you put fruit on the Oreo pound cake, but it's your business, like Tabitha say. But this is how mine looked. It's so pretty, and it was delicious. And yes, I know I talk too much, but we made an Oreo Bundt pound cake together. Now let me get a slice.